Welcome to the Red Chip Poker Podcast, where we share stories and strategies from the game's most fascinating minds. No matter where you are in your poker journey, there's always something new to learn. So let's get right into today's conversation with your host, Robbie Straczynski.
Hey everybody, welcome once again to another exciting episode of the Red Chip Poker Podcast. Robbie Straczynski here, and I gotta tell you, I'm pretty excited to have this guest on. We're still a little while away from the summer, but the electricity is already in the air for the 2019 World Series of Poker. Here with us today to help us get hyped is none other than the Vice President of the WSOP himself, Jack Effel. Welcome to the show, Jack.
Thank you, Robbie. Glad to be here. Hope everyone's doing well.
Good to be speaking with you. Not our first time speaking. It's always an enjoyable conversation when we get to talk. Thank you very much for your time.
And thanks for having me. It's truly a pleasure.
You got it. It's not even spring yet, but as happens every year, people are already starting to get excited for the annual World Series of Poker in Las Vegas. You've been working in your role at the WSOP for well over a decade now. How about you, though? Do you still get excited as the summer begins to approach?
Well, if I wasn't excited about what we do here at the World Series of Poker, I promise I wouldn't be doing it. Yes, it's very meaningful to all of us here at the WSOP, the entire team. We really enjoy the off season in planning and the idea sharing and the things we can do together to continue to help improve and make the WSOP what it can be in collaboration with all the players.
Yeah, certainly. And it's not like, you show up, at the end of May and say, okay, let's remember how we do this. There's obviously a ton of advanced planning for each summer series. How far in advance would you say that planning begins?
The WSOP is, it's kind of a revolving door. We do plan year round for the WSOP. As you look at the schedule of WSOP events in general, in addition to WSOP, there are over 40 circuit events worldwide, in addition to WSOP Las Vegas, World Series of Poker, Europe, so on and so forth. So World Series of Poker for us is an everyday, year-round, 365-day-a-year job. The WSOP Las Vegas, we spend a good 6 months, January to end of May, getting ready for the opening of WSOP, leading into the setup and execution of the event. Schedule creation obviously happens in the off season, which takes several months of planning. And we try to get that out around the first of the year every year. So it truly is a year-round process for us.
Sure. And you mentioned, us and the team. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of people. It's not all on one person's shoulders. But when it comes to the specific planning and decision-making, when you get, the decision makers in a room, approximately how many people are we talking about, give or take?
The team, as a year-round team, we're relatively small. The operations of the World Series of Poker to pull off the summer of an event is over 1,500 people be able to orchestrate the event itself. And if we're thinking about production and all the ancillary departments and everything, well over 2,000 people for sure be able to pull it off at Rio. But when we think about the year-round team here between CIE and operations, you have to really consider all the different departments, all the different department heads, so on and so forth. I would say that there are a couple of dozen people that are prominently working on their areas. CIE and us, that in terms of the team that are working out here, of course, Ty, myself, Seth, Gregory, Simone, and of course we have the online team with Bill and Danielle and Dallas and Jenny, and of course my right hand, Tyler Peifel, who's steadily working on operations 24/7, killing himself over at the Rio. So, the team is relatively small. And then, Steve Ellis and all of the great people at the Rio that are working on trying to make the experience better, from surveillance, security, total rewards, the cage, food and beverage, convention services, encore productions, so on and so forth, right on down the line. I mean, look, there's a couple of dozen leaders. And then, of course, they all have people that work for them to help us carry things out. The setup takes a couple of weeks, takes a few months to put it all together. It takes several months of planning. We're very, very, very blessed with the amount of talent that we're surrounded by within our organization.
Wow. I mean, it's always so interesting to hear the behind the scenes. It's obviously a massive undertaking. Anyone out there in the Red Chip Poker podcast listener land, if you've ever been to the World Series, throngs and throngs of people always just, crowding through those hallways. So yeah, it definitely takes a tremendous force to keep things running smoothly. I caught myself by surprise. You mentioned the online aspect. I didn't even prepare a question about that, but because you mentioned it, that does seem to be a bit of a growing part of the summer series each year. Is that true for 2019 as well, the WSOP.com online?
Yeah, of course. It's a big part of the World Series of Poker every single year. And, the details for this year's offering have yet to be announced. But, of course, I like to tease everyone a little bit so they can get excited about it because, we're very proud of where we've come with our product, and we want people to be excited about it, too.
Sure. And it's very nice, even if you're a tourist, you don't have to be living as a resident of Nevada. You come in for the World Series and you can go ahead and register for an account and play online. That's certainly a very fun thing to do. One thing we're already hearing a ton of course, and this is surely going to be omnipresent in the on-site branding in Las Vegas, it's the 50th anniversary of the World Series of Poker. So for those of us who are too lazy to look at the schedule ourselves, maybe just hype it up a little bit. What are the special features or events to mark the 50th anniversary, to mark the occasion?
Well, first, so Seth doesn't kill me, I have to kind of correct you and say this is the 50th annual WSOP. This is the 50th edition or the 50th series of the WSOP. We began in 1970. So the first series was down at Binion's Horseshoe, 1970, with 6 professional poker players who sat around for 3 days and voted on who the best player was. It's built up over 50 years to what we're at today. Of course, 2020 will actually be the official 50th anniversary.
Semantics, but yes, thank you.
That's exactly right. Semantics. Anyway, so we are looking forward to the 50th annual WSOP. We are very excited about all the cool stuff that we have in store for this year. To kick things off, we have an event called the Big 50, which is a $500 buy-in. Everyone's first entry in this event is rake-free. The event his starting chips are 50,000. The levels are 50 minutes long. Everyone will play a 2-day flight, and then the entire field will be combined, play down to a winner, and $1 million guaranteed first place. We're real excited about the offering this year.
Those are some tremendous numbers, and certainly, especially a rake-free event, great way to kick it off and put some butts in the seats. And that's I really like that. That's really awesome. I'm sure that resonates very favorably with people who will be coming either for the first time or even who have been coming year after year to the World Series. It's a really great innovation. You mentioned the 50,000 chip starting stack for that event. I actually did notice that across the board, pretty much most of the events, a big increase in starting chip stack sizes. That's not a change that you sort of decide to go ahead and, let's try this without a good reason. So when you were making that decision, you and your team, what were the pros and the cons of increasing the starting stack size, and what tipped the balance in favor of making the adjustment?
Well, part of, having or playing at poker events these days, especially for a lot of recreational players, and really for a lot of players in general, is just the comfort of being able to start a poker tournament with a reasonable amount of chips. There is some bit of psychological factors in, feeling comfortable when you sit down and not feeling desperate and having to make a play too fast, and being able to learn your table and get comfortable with the players and so on and so forth. We want to be able to provide the best experience, best structures in the world. And so, bigger starting stacks for all the events, more play, better value. That's what the Big 50 or the 50th annual WSOP is all about. We hope that everyone will come out and get to experience some of that. And, a lot of folks in the past haven't wanted to come out because they felt that they didn't necessarily get that value because the starting stacks may have seemed kind of small. So we've definitely fixed that for them, even though in our mind, we've always had the best structures with 60-minute levels, very deep structures, so on and so forth, starting the blinds very low, all of those things. But this year we took a little different approach, so you can have equally as good or better structures with a few more chips,
right,
with the same levels that you expect, and just a matter of a few tweaks to make these events as good or as the best that they can be, so we can get the most amount of participants together so they can enjoy their favorite events.
Certainly. And you mentioned that word tweaks. That sort of triggered my memory. I remember in years past, you and I had even spoken about that. You and your team, again, you're not ones to rest on your laurels. Okay, it could be a wonderful series, but in that off season that you had mentioned, always looking to tweak it, make it a little bit better. And certainly the results show, and people keep on being happier and happier with the World Series. There's also some other things I noticed on the schedule, some new pricing points, $400, $600, $800 event. And I think that these lower buy-ins reflect a little bit of a trend in recent years, rather than sticking exclusively to the 4-figure and 5-figure price points. Again, what sort of spurred this change, and what sort of feedback have you been hearing in general from the players about this?
Well, just remember that, there's a lot of different categories of players at the World Series. And so you want to have a variety of different buy-ins that suit, everybody's comfort level or buy-in level to be able to participate in their favorite events. We have pro tracks that are, very robust, that are offering all the different events, all the different variants, and all the different, championship levels, and most in the smaller buy-ins as well as the higher buy-ins. And, we have events for the recreational players that have different structures. We have, the 10K events that have different structures. And so what you're going to see this year is a very diverse offering with a wide variety of different price points, different structures for different categories of players. And really defining what we've always said, which is offering something for everyone, but really trying to own that the best way possible, which is really taking that to the highest level possible by, looking at the structures in the most granular way to deliver that.
Sure. I mean, that's an answer that makes a lot of logical sense. That's not, marketing buzzwords and stuff. That's really genuine. I know as myself, I'm not someone who you would expect to go ahead and sit down in a 10K event. And I'm sure many of our listeners fall into that category. And yeah, sure, it's nice to have an opportunity to win a bracelet at a reasonable price point, but it's not a crapshoot because we've got the bigger chip stacks. We've got the same structures in place. And it definitely speaks to the prestige of the World Series to be able to put events like that on.
Yeah, the one thing you have to realize in these events, too, is that a player, for example, the players that come to the World Series of Poker, that some players, that this is either the first time that they've come to the World Series of Poker or the first time that they've ever come to a poker tournament ever. And, that's something that the World Series of Poker gets more than anyone else anywhere. So we have a collection of brand new players and brand new World Series of Poker players. So people that have never played the World Series of Poker before, or people who have never played an actual organized poker tournament before. So I think that's very important to note for anyone listening. So when you think about offering poker tournaments for everyone, it's not about what did you play at your neighborhood casino or at that other poker tour, but what are you going to play and what is going to be appealing to that person who sits down in a seat for the very first time and has their very first poker tournament experience.
Brilliant. And it's funny, I guess you sort of anticipated my next question. It's precisely on that type of player. Professional and recreational players have had their takes. Everyone knows what a lot of the players have to say, but I'm curious to hear from your perspective, specifically, Jack, if a player wants to go ahead and take a shot for the first time, let's say they're prepared, they want to go to the World Series with a $5,000 bankroll. Which events would you advise them to participate in and why?
I don't want to be like an accountant and give like, tax advice, stuff like that, or tell anyone how to play their money, because some people have more gamble than others.
Sure.
Some might want to take their whole 5,000 and play. But here's what I can tell you. If you are a player who is trying to really play the best poker possible, give themselves the most opportunities to win the most amount of money and play as many events as possible, what we've already said is that there's a lot of different events, in a lot of different price points that will give you that opportunity. Meaning
Nice.
that the weekend events like the Millionaire Maker and the Monster Stack and the Colossus and the Big 50, obviously, the Crazy Eight, those type of events, or maybe like the mini main event. That's going to be a great value, which is a $1,000 buy-in. Same great structure as the main event, but with 30-minute levels. We're anticipating a very large field size for that event. And so that's going to be an event well worth winning for anyone that participates. These are the types of events with a $5,000 bankroll that I would recommend anyone playing. Now, and of course, daily events that we have going on that are non-bracelets, like the daily deep stack that range from $150 to $400. Those are 4 times a day throughout the entire WSOP schedule, including a senior deep stack on Wednesday and a PLO deep stack on Sunday. So there are lots of events every day giving players the opportunity to build their bankrolls. And if you are that player that wants to play in the bracelet events but doesn't quite have enough money to quite get there because some of them may be a little bit out of your bankroll, we have satellites. You can go play in single table satellites for 125, 225, 525, play the $1,000 satellite. Have a shot to play with single tables with, 9 other players to be able to win enough buy-in chips, we call them. People call them lammers, we call them buy-in chips, but these are chips that have $500 worth of tournament value that you can use to be able to buy into bracelet events. And you can turn your smaller bankroll into a larger bankroll and parlay that money into potentially millions of dollars at the World Series of Poker. We also have multi-table satellites happening every night for like the $5,000 and $10,000 championship event. So, there are lots of opportunities to play events at the World Series of Poker. And, you talked about the online that you forgot about. Might as well take some of that money, open up an online account, and try to run some up playing micro stakes, right? Because you can play $11 satellites online to have a shot to win a main event seat and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool things to do if you're in Las Vegas during the World Series of Poker to give yourself a great opportunity to win money.
Brilliant. I love that answer. And we're going to continue our discussion with Jack Effel and ask him some more about his career and the upcoming 2019 World Series of Poker. But first, a little strategy.
It's always amazed me how little emphasis is placed on understanding bankroll management in poker. Now, that might seem like a strange statement. There's actually a lot of advice out there. But the problem is that the advice is mostly the same, and it's usually not well thought through. It's usually something along the lines of, make sure you have plenty of buy-ins in your roll, the more the better. Or perhaps a variant of that, always look to minimize risk of ruin. Despite being popular sentiments regarding bankroll management, they are significantly flawed. Our goal is absolutely not to minimize our risk of ruin. After all, we could minimize our risk of ruin by waiting until we have 1,000 buy-ins before we shoot the next limit up. Rather than play as tight as possible with our bankroll management, our goal should actually be to play as aggressively as possible while still retaining a tolerable risk of ruin. Here's another way of thinking about that. Pretty much every serious amateur is knowledgeable enough to extol the virtues of not playing under-rolled. Playing under-rolled is a big league, it's likely will go broke. It's far less common for players to connect with the idea that playing over-rolled is a huge league also. How so? Okay, we'll probably never go broke, but we'll probably never get to where we want to be either. It'll take us years and years to reach that stake level we are targeting. There is hence a huge opportunity cost playing overrolled. We're wasting far too much time playing at one limit when we should really be shooting the next limit up. Another common myth surrounding bankroll management is to do with shot size. There's this idea out there that mathematically the size of a shot doesn't matter. Some players like to take 1 bind shots, other players like to take 10 or even 20 bind shots at the next limit. It's just a matter of preference, right? Absolutely not. It's very straightforward to demonstrate that short, aggressive shots are mathematically better than very large shots involving lots of binds. So we want to make sure we spend some decent time working on our bankroll management strategy. We might be the best poker player in the world, but if we screw up our bankroll management, we're not going anywhere.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Red Chip Poker Podcast. Robbie Straczynski here with WSOP Vice President Jack Effel. And I got to say, that's the second time I've addressed you by your new title, Mr. Vice President. And it's something I happen to notice on LinkedIn. I noticed that from 2007 until December of last year, your title was VP of International Operations and Tournament Director. Most players know you as Tournament Director and for being on camera and making the decisions. Now you're the Vice President of the World Series of Poker. Does that title change mean anything as far as the day-to-day responsibilities for you?
No, not really. So I'm still Jack. I'm still the World Series of Poker guy, and I'm still doing all the great stuff to work with the team to make this event as great as possible, doing all the same cool stuff.
Okay.
In our world, in the Caesars world, titles and structure and all of that stuff is employment and part of the organizational chart, formalities more than anything else. But thank you for that. But no, I'm still the same guy, still Jack, still WSOP, and still doing the same great fun stuff.
Well, that's good. Well, I know in my household, I'm the vice president. My wife is the president. So it's certainly a very important title. So I know what that all means.
I can tell you it's the same way at my house too, Robbie. You don't have to worry about that. The wife is always the boss.
Certainly. On the internal Caesars part, you have been with Caesars Entertainment for over 21 years now. And these days, it really seems to be becoming, at least to me, exceptionally rare to see people stay within the same company, even for 5 years. So what does it mean to you to have been with the same company, the same organization for so long?
Well, I can tell you, I love Caesars. They have been really, really good to me. I love the people that I work with. I love the World Series of Poker. I love what I do. I love, the autonomy, the creativity that I'm afforded to be able to, thrive and be as good as I can be. I love the support that I get from the organization. I've really had a great career, and I've really enjoyed being part of this company. I have a lot of satisfaction in what I do, and I plan to continue to do it for as long as they will have me doing it. So, I've been very fortunate and very lucky to be part of, the growth and the excitement of the World Series of Poker. I've been very fortunate to be around very smart people like Ty Stewart and all of the smart people at Caesars. It's just, to me, it's a great gift. And, a lot of people wake up and they don't want to go to work. I'm just the opposite. I love waking up. I love going to work. And I'm that guy that when it comes to Friday, I get sad because I don't have any, I have to leave. I have to go home and then I don't get to come back to work until Monday. So yes, I love what I do. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and I love everyone that I work with. I don't get too many people that actually get to ask me that.
Oh, that's good. It's a very heartwarming answer. I mean, nothing warms my heart than hearing anyone who absolutely loves what they do. And I know I've asked you in the past also. I mean, you say about the come Friday and going home. During the World Series for 6 weeks, that is not the case. You are there on site, pretty much except for, the little sleep that you get. You're on there every single day. So I imagine that really gets your juices flowing, during the 6 weeks of the World Series in the summer.
Oh yeah, during the 7 weeks, yeah. Usually I take
right.
one day off, and I think I took one day off last year. I actually had on Father's Day. I left about 3 o'clock, but I was there for the entire duration of WSOP last year, and yeah, WSOP doesn't count for any of us. We're all there. Kind of, that's like war, right? So we all kind of like put on our battle gear. Right, and we all kind of take our vitamins every day,
sure.
And it's just like one long day for us. So that's not kind of like the norm. That's just like one long day for all of us. So I'm glad that you kind of pointed out WSOP. So definitely different during event time, definitely different during that mode.
Absolutely. For us all, I would say it's certainly the highlight of the year for so many of us in the poker community. Well, obviously, you being there for so many years, the Rio, the WSOP like the back of your hand. And I imagine that many players who are veterans and who have been to the World Series before feel the same. But of course, as you had mentioned, there are plenty of people who'll be making the trek out to Las Vegas to the World Series for the first time this summer, whether it's someone who's just turned 21 and is now legal to go ahead and play, or someone who's just been saving up for a long time, or, it's a bucket list item. So besides the events that you had recommended that they give a few of them a try, what sort of advice would you give the first-time player, the first-time visitor to Las Vegas to the World Series of Poker in general?
That's a legitimate, good question to ask, Robbie.
Thank you.
The one thing is if you're coming to Las Vegas for the very first time, know that there are a lot of obstacles, right? That you should always take a deep breath and think about what you're going to do. Think about how much money you're going to bring here before you actually come. And, if you plan to play poker tournaments, maybe plan out your tournament schedule so you have a budget and, you don't go over that budget, and you win, that's another way to kind of think about, what you're going to do. But, that's not usually a problem that you have until it actually happens, right? We never like to count our chickens before they hatch,
certainly,
so to speak. But you have to think about your housing situation, your eating situation, your health, and your lifestyle, and making sure that you exercise and take care of yourself, and so on and so forth. Poker's a grind. A lot of people come and they get burnt out real quick. So we always advise people to pace themselves, keep themselves healthy and hydrated, make sure that they eat, get plenty of rest, and enjoy themselves and take everything in good spirits and good health, for sure.
Certainly. And in a sense, I suppose it's like a tournament itself. And you can't go ahead and put forth your best effort and expect to win the entire series on the first day. It's a long grind to make it all the way to the end. So I totally get that. And how about for veterans, people who have been there for many, many years? Is there something that's going to be different or stick out a little bit this summer in 2019 than in years past that perhaps people ought to pay a little extra attention to?
Well, also remember, this is the Olympics of poker, right? And so this is this is the place where dreams are made and a few are shattered, right? And, this is our special year with our 50th annual WSOP. We have some special things to be announced soon. We have some things that you've kind of already seen, kind of like the bracelet winners only event that we're going to have later in the schedule. That's going to be open to, at that time, approximately 1,200 bracelet winners that are in existence. And we have some other ceremonial type kind of stuff that we plan to do. I want to make sure that I mention the Warriors, the Salute to Warriors No Limit Hold'em event, which is an event that we added on the schedule this year for our active military and veterans of U.S. military service. This is an event beautiful. That we've added to help. Yeah, this is a great event, big initiative for Caesars to help support the USO and other military charitable organizations. We also have our little one drop event that'll be back. So we want to have those two charity events noted here so everyone knows about those. We should also let everyone know that all the No Limit Hold'em events will be Big Blind Annie. That's an exciting
that's a big
one, right?
innovation. Sure.
Well, that's definitely exciting. You know, you talked about all those small events early, but we didn't talk about the Deep Stack Championship. There's a $600 buy-in that we hope all of the daily grinder Deep Stack players will participate in the Deep Stack Championship, which is a $600 buy-in. We'll get one of those Deep Stack players wearing one of those WSOP bracelets and holding it over their head during the ceremony this year. So there's definitely some exciting stuff. There's really so many cool things at the World Series. I hope nobody decides to sit on the couch and not come. But if they decide to do that, remember, they can tune in best that they can by subscribing to Poker Go and watching all the enhanced streamed events that are planning to be on the schedule, which should be announced very soon. And of course, all of our main event coverage, which will be between Poker Go and ESPN Network. So that should be a lot of fun if they decide not to come, which I don't know how anybody could miss the World Series of Poker in Las Vegas this year for our 50th year.
It's certainly a huge attraction. Like I said, a peak time of year for everyone. I will just say I have sort of one last question here to end off on, and I'll just put it out there. I'm going to misdirect you just a little bit. Let's put it out there. People like to complain, and I suppose it's human nature. Over the years, I'm certain you've gotten a fair share of constructive criticism. But as I mentioned earlier, to your credit, you and your colleagues, you're always tweaking, always working tirelessly to try and improve the WSOP each and every year. And you do deserve big kudos. So we're going to flip it. Let's end off on a positive note. I imagine far less publicized is that you also get a lot of thank yous from players. Take a second to think, what is one of or some of the nicer feedback that you have received over the years, and what sort of effect does it have on you and your team besides just making you smile?
I'm really proud when I see someone during the bracelet ceremony hold up their bracelet, have their family come in and celebrate their special moment, or have all of their friends there and what it means to them, or, come up and tell me, thank you, that was so special. Or someone that, had an issue that required a little extra special care to help get fixed. Maybe there was an issue that needed to get resolved. Whatever it was, the special moments. Listen, life is really about moments, right? And we go through life looking for those small moments of happiness that we remember. And the cool thing about the World Series of Poker is that we get to be part of something that's kind of bigger than all of us, right? And we get to be part of this special event that doesn't belong to anyone. It just happens, and it belongs to all of us, right? And we get to be part of it. And long after we're gone, and all of us, it'll still be going on. It's been going on for 50 years, and it'll continue on after we're all gone. And to be part of something that special is so meaningful that in itself is great. I think just being part of it is special. But I think that anytime you get to be part of someone's experience, and I've always said that you get to capture and be part of someone's life and something that someone's going to remember forever. Meaning that they've had an experience, because not everybody wins at the World Series of Poker, but you got to be part of their experience. That's something that they'll always have. And we try to make all of those experiences as meaningful as possible. And if we can make the majority of those or all of those great, then we've done something. And we're just happy to be part of that. And so that's what's special to me, being part of people's experiences.
Oh, I love it. And I'm sure our listeners can identify with what I'm going to say. After speaking with you for this half hour, I am ready to jump on a plane right now. I know the summer's, far away still, but my juices are flowing. I'm ready to get there and feel that excitement and that electricity. It's really, as much as we can talk about it on the podcast, is nothing like just being there, roaming those hallways and seeing those moments in front of your eyes. Jack, really, thank you very, very much for coming on the show. If anyone of our listeners wants to reach out and ask a question or say thank you, or say something about your appearance here on the Red Chip Poker Podcast, what's the best way they can reach out to you?
Well, we have a great communications team. Just tweet at WSOP and Seth Polanski and team. They will disseminate the information to whoever's most appropriate to answer, and we'll make sure to respond. And that's the best way to get to us. And we're all going to keep our heads down and continue to work on the 50th annual WSOP. And we hope to see everyone out. We know it's going to be a fantastic, historic year.
Perfect. Everyone, thank you again very, very much for tuning in. Thanks once again to Jack Effel. I'm Robbie Straczynski, and you've been listening to the Red Chip Poker Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. But don't stop learning now. Head over to redchippoker.com. You'll find everything you need to get better today. Join our free, friendly strategy group and start talking poker with our coaches and community. And listen, if you're ready to take poker more seriously, sign up for Core, our $5 a week complete training platform built for players who have limited time to study. Core is packed with over 100 bite-sized lessons from the fundamentals to advanced strategies, quizzes, achievements, discussion threads, and more. And for the bravest of heart, we invite you to check out our Pro membership, which includes 24/7 access to hundreds of videos, all of our playlists, all of our crash courses, and more. If you want to see what the top 1% of players are studying to keep their edges razor sharp, visit redchippoker.com/Ruby. That's RUBY, and get a special deal on your first 3 weeks. Until next time, run good, play better, and get there.